Turkish for
Hey there, ever wanted to talk about what's happening right now in Turkish? Well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to master the Turkish present continuous tense, which is called Şimdiki Zaman. By the end of this, you'll be using it like a pro. So let's dive right in. Okay, first things first, let's start with a little challenge. Imagine you're looking out the window, you see someone running, and you want to say, she is running right now. How would you actually say that in Turkish? Go ahead, give it a thought.
The answer is Ayşe şimdi koşuyor. Now zoom in on that last word, koşuyor. See that ending? That little bit right there is where all the magic happens. The key is the your suffix, and we're about to pull back the curtain and show you exactly how it works. So here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the basics of what Şimdiki Zaman even is. Then we'll get into the most important rule, vowel harmony, and a couple of key exceptions. And finally, we'll cover how to make sentences negative and how to ask questions. Let's get to it. All right, first up, what exactly is Şimdiki Zaman? Well, just think of it as the right now tense. To put it simply, Şimdiki Zaman is your go-to tool for talking about anything that's happening at this very moment. You know, if you want to say someone is talking or walking or reading, this is the tense you need. It's basically the Turkish version of adding ing to a verb in English. And the secret ingredient for this entire tense is this one little suffix, your. You just stick it on the end of a verb, but there's a tiny catch. It almost always needs a little helper vowel to connect it to the main verb. Think of it like a puzzle piece, and learning which helper to use is our very next step. Okay, section 2. We are now at the absolute heart of Turkish grammar, vowel harmony. Seriously, if you understand this, you're going to find the rest so much easier. Let's see how we connect that your suffix. So what do you do when a verb ends in a consonant? You can't just slap your on the end. You need what's called a buffer vowel. And the vowel you pick depends entirely on the last vowel in the verb itself. This whole system, called four-way vowel harmony, is what makes Turkish sound so smooth and melodic. It sounds kind of technical, but trust me, it's way more logical than it seems. Let's break it down. Okay, let's take our first rule. Look at the verb çalışmak, which means to work. The verb stem is çalış. The last vowel in that stem is a. So we look at our chart. A gets paired with the buffer vowel which gives us your. You put it together, and you get çalışıyor. He or she is working. Simple, right? Next up, what if the last vowel in the stem is e or I? Okay, let's take the verb gelmek, meaning to come. The stem is just gal. The only vowel there is e. According to our rule, this gets an e for a buffer, creating yor. So we get geliyor. He or she is coming. See the pattern emerging? All right, moving on. What about stems with o or u as the last vowel? Let's try konuşmak, which means to talk. The stem is konuş, and its last vowel is u. Our rule tells us this needs another u as the buffer vowel, which gives us uyuyor. And just like that, it becomes konuşuyor. He or she is talking. And for our last group, what if the last vowel is a or u? Let's take the verb bölmek, to divide. The vowel here is a. This calls for the buffer vowel u, giving us uyuyor. And the result? Bölüyor. He or she is dividing. And that's it. That's the core rule of vowel harmony for this tense. Okay, we've totally got the main rule down for verbs that end in a consonant, but what happens if the verb already ends in a vowel? Well, that's where we meet our first major exception. It's a process called daralma, which basically means vowel narrowing. So here's the deal. If a verb stem ends in an A or an E, you actually drop that vowel completely. Then you just look at the vowel that came before it to figure out which buffer vowel to add, using the same harmony rule we just learned. So for beklemek, to wait, the stem bekle changes to beklio. For oynamak, to play, the stem oyna becomes oynio. Let's really lock this concept in with a few more examples you'll hear all the time. The verb aramak, to call, becomes arıyor. And özlemek, which means to miss someone, becomes özlüyor. This rule is super common, so it's a really good one to get comfortable with. Fantastic. Now for our second exception, and some good news. This one is much rarer, but it does pop up in some really common verbs. This is called yumuşama, or consonant softening. The rule here is actually pretty simple.
For a very small group of common verbs that end in T, that T sound softens into a D before you add the ior suffix. The absolute number one example you need to know is gitmek, to go, which becomes gidiyor. Same for the super useful verb itmek, which becomes ediyor. This isn't a broad rule, it's more of a special case you just have to memorize for a few key verbs. Okay, we are now experts at making positive statements. So how do we flip that? How do we say something is not happening? Let's dive into making negative sentences.
The magic particle for making things negative is a little me. You just slide it in right after the verb stem, but before the whole ior part. And guess what? Our favorite rule is back. This negative suffix also follows four-way vowel harmony. So you end up with four possible versions: miyor, miyor, muyor, and muyor.
Let's see a quick before and after. O geliyor means he is coming. To make it negative, we just add the right negative bit, and it becomes o gelmiyor, he is not coming. Let's check another one. Onlar konuşuyorlar is they are talking. The negative? Onlar konuşmuyorlar, they are not talking. See, it really is that straightforward.
All right, we're on the home stretch now. This is where we bring everything we've learned together. Let's figure out how to ask questions and how to say exactly who is doing the action. So after our yours tense marker, we add one more little suffix to show who is doing the action. So to say I am running, it's koşuyorum. You are running is koşuyorsun. You'll notice that the he, she, it form, koşuyor, is the basic one we've been using all along with no extra ending. We are running is koşuyoruz, and so on down the list. These just get attached right at the very end.
Now here's a really quick but super important tip for actual conversations. Just like in English, the pronouns do a little dance. If someone asks a question about you using sen, your answer is going to be about yourself using ben. It's that natural back and forth that's crucial for making your dialogue sound real. And here it is, the grand finale. To ask a question, you add the question particle, mu, right after the verb. And yep, it follows vowel harmony too. But notice, it's a separate word. So, are we coming is biz geliyor muyuz? See how that personal ending, uz, jumped over to the question particle? And the answer is, evet, siz geliyorsunuz. Yes, you are coming. And there you have it. From vowel harmony to negative questions, you now have the complete toolkit for the Turkish present continuous tense. So the only question left is, what's the very first thing you're going to say that you're doing?
Turkish for you.